Hello and welcome back to the EyeSell app training presentation. This is Sean with the SLR Independent Division, and today I'm excited to talk to you about the brand new Verilux X Series progressive lens design. At SLR, we are constantly innovating and looking at ways to improve our progressive lens designs. And I'm really excited about the X Series because we've taken our best progressive lens design, the Verilux S, and made it even better. And I am currently wearing the X Series, and I will share with you my experiences as we go through this presentation. Some things that we're going to be covering today is that, one, we've identified new needs of today's presbyopes, and we've used a variety of advanced technology for testing and looking at ways people's vision is working. Also, we have redefined the performance of the near and intermediate zones of a PAL. We're looking at this completely differently, and I'm excited to tell you how. And our new technology called Extend, and we're going to get into the details of how that works in the patient benefits. All right, before we get into the Verilux X design, I first want to talk about live optics, because no other progressive lens company has the research and development process that Essilor does. And our process starts with human vision research. We actually look at how the eyes are working and communicating with the brain, and when we fully understand that, we can then start designing a lens. Second step is computing. And one of the things we do different from other companies, most companies have computer models of what the progressive lens designs are, but what we do is we take actual lenses and prescription and we shoot light through it. And we are able to measure the aberrations and distortions that are caused when the light's going through the lens, and we can measure that, and then we can work behind it to enhance the vision of our lenses. So it's not just computer modeling, it is actually taking real life data. We also do prototyping. And when we do prototyping, we have a couple different ways that we can handle this. With our prototyping, we can actually put on virtual reality lenses, and we can tweak the design as people are wearing it and giving us feedback. And then fourth is actual wear testing. We do the most actual testing on patients, getting feedback in real life situations so that we can adjust accordingly to make sure that we are giving the patients the best vision possible. All right, so we've talked about live optics, but let's take it to the next step. And what we wanted to do was identify the new needs of today's presbyopes, and we used quite a few different new testing methodologies. So we did a total of 19 separate wear and usage studies with over 2,700 patients. So we did real life wear studies for 2 to 3 weeks and got feedback from them. Then we also purchased a house. This is pretty cool. We have kind of a Big Brother type house for eyewear studies. And basically we have video cameras all throughout the house. And in this controlled environment, we set people up to do different visual tasks. And we would measure that and see how they would work and what type of head and eye movements they had. The other thing is a simulator room. So it's a virtual reality room where we would have VR glasses on them with different designs, and we could actually adjust the designs as we are taking them through these rooms, and we could measure their different movements and lens configurations, and we can tweak it as they needed as we went through this virtual reality room. We also have Movis, an experimental lab with 3D capturing, where we're looking at head and time movement of patients. All right, so after all these wear tests and studies we've done, and then also looking at outside third-party testing, we have found that 90% of our time is spent indoors using our intermediate and near vision. And I'm sure all of you can relate to this, the amount of time spent on tablets and phones and computers and television. We really do have a more enhanced intermediate vision need in our everyday life. All right, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So I'm not going to say anything else. Take a look at this guy. You get it. You know, with progressives, you got to do the head bob to find the sweet spot. And, you know, with today's visual needs, this is what a lot of people are experiencing. You know, back when we were kids and our dads would come home and they'd complain about, oh, my aching back. Well, now dads come home and it's, oh, my aching neck from staring at the computer and trying to find my near zone. I can't find it. So it's an issue, and we're going to fix it. All right, back in the 50s, Essilor invented the very first progressive lens. A lot has happened since then. A lot of things have changed, and in 1994, Essilor released and launched the Verilux Comfort, which was at the time the most revolutionary progressive lens design. And the thing is, with the Comfort is that we set the near zone for one viewing distance. It was set up for a 16-inch focal length, and what we did that was revolutionary was trying to keep that head at a natural gaze at 36 degrees. So yes, if you're reading a book, Comfort worked great. But now with today's visual needs, it's not a set near focal length. Now we have this whole new world that is around our arm's length. If you take your hands and just kind of stretch them out and kind of point your fingers together, that's kind of your computer monitor. But then you have your cell phone, you could have also paper documents, all interacting at the same time. So with the new designs, we need to take into account these multiple gaze angles and distances and be able to design a progressive with that in mind. All right, so we've completed all that research, we've identified new visual needs, so now it's time to address those needs. So now I'd like to introduce you to Extend technology, which is only available in the new Verilux X series lenses. And so what are patients going to benefit from here? Wearers no longer need to find just that right spot to see sharply. It's going to dramatically reduce their head movements, and they're going to be able to see multiple distances through one point in the lens. And that's pretty darn amazing. All right, so typical progressive lenses before Extend technology, basically the intermediate zone was just a transition from your far to your near zones. It wasn't necessarily thought of as a real zone that is going to be used on a regular basis. It was basically eliminating image jump from a flat top 28 bifocal, creating a smoother transition to get to that near zone where most people spent their time, either far or near. And each area of the lens was just a single focal point. All right, so we've talked about a typical progressive versus Extend technology. I'd also want to point out another important difference. I want to talk about progressive versus a regressive. Okay, so on the left, you'll see a progressive lens. You pick out a 6-base curve, and then a progressive, basically, you're going to steepen the curve or increase magnification. So when you get down into your near zone, you have an 8-base curve. So that creates your 2-add or your magnification point. With that, you have the limitations that we've talked about with the focal points. Now with Verilux X, we are using the same blank that we use for the Verilux S series. And what is so different about that is it is a regressive. So if you have a 6-base curve with an X series, the near vision will come in somewhere between a 4 and 5 base. Here I put down a 450 base. Depending on the ad, we'll have a different base curve, but you'll notice instead of it steepening at the bottom, we're actually flattening out the bottom of the lens. And this allows us outside the typical channel out in the periphery. By doing this is what allows us to have that edge-to-edge clarity and to reduce the off-balance feeling. But we are totally different here. We're pretty much turning things upside down with progressive designs. All right, so how does Extend technology actually work? And no, this is not just a pretty made-up marketing fluffy term, but this is real technology that is incredibly innovative. I had trouble wrapping my head around this when I first saw this and was thinking kind of your typical optics and progressive theories. This is a little bit different. So the way it works is that each area of the lens actually provides a simultaneous range of focus. So when we're talking that arm's length, we really do have multiple power points in that area. So if you take a look, we've got this little honeycomb area. Okay, so this is your arm's length vision in here. And what we do, these little honeycombs represent different power points within that lens. And what we do is we have steps. So right next to each other, we have variable powers. If you look in that 24 to 28 inch range, we have next to each other a plus 150, and then next to it would be a 1.83. So we have these steps of power shifts which allow the eye, as they look through this in a single gaze, you are actually able to focus either on a near object or an intermediate object in that same portion of the lens so that you don't have to move your head around. If any of you dispense contacts, this is similar technology to concentric bifocals. And if you remember with a concentric bifocal, it's kind of like a bullseye target. So think of that red and white circles of a target, and so like your red is your near zone, then you have a circle of white, which is your distance zone. So you've got these variable image shifts. But the difference between a concentric bifocal is you're talking, 16, 18 inch portion and then jumping to infinity, where here it's only about a 1/12 of a diopter step, so it's very soft and very easy for the eye to be able to utilize both points in that lens at the same time and be able to focus on multiple objects at different ranges with the same head gaze. I have a feeling that you're thinking right now, is Extend technology really going to benefit my patients? Well, let's take a look at the two images here. On the left, we have a presbyo wearing a traditional progressive lens. And as she focuses on her menu, she's going to have to tilt that chin up, lower her eyes down to the bottom portion of the lens in order to read the menu clearly. Now, as she wants to focus out to the intermediate and further, she's going to have to do the head bob, kind of angling the chin up and down until she finds that sweet spot, that intermediate vision, so that the object's coming clear. On the right, with the Verilux X and the Extend technology, thank you to the honeycomb and the PowerPoint files right next to each other with that 12th diopter of a step, allows a single gaze angle with minimal head movement so that she can focus on the menu, the glasses, and the salt and pepper shakers or whatever's out in her intermediate, all with minimal head movement in just that pretty much single gaze out there. And if you're skeptical like me, I'm always like, okay, I got to try this out. So I'm wearing the Verilux X right now. I've got some marketing people that are also asking, does it really work? And I demonstrated with my cell phone and my computer monitor and I read out loud a text, and then I read what was on my computer monitor without moving my head at all. It does work. And now, introducing Verilux X Series with Extend technology, available today through all Verilux distributors across the country. Now we can get extended arm's length vision without having to compromise both near and distance vision. The Verilux X Series, now taking our best lens and making it even better. Now we have Extend technology, so there's no more searching for just the right spot. We also have all the great building blocks of the S Series, nan-optics, so no more off-balance feeling, synchronize, smooth transition from near to far, and wave technology too, with sharp vision even in low light conditions. All right, so let's take a look at the new Verilux digital portfolio. And as we look at this chart, you see from the left we have the DRX products, and work to the right to our Verilux X. We all start with the foundation of our smart blue filter in all of our digital designs. And then with each design, we step up and add an additional benefit for the patient. So at the right, we have the Verilux X Series, which is replacing the S, but we are not quite discontinuing the S yet. We want to be sure that we have all of our current S Series labs that are producing it in-house. We need to convert them over to the X. And we will be completing that probably the end of Q1 or Q2 of next year. And part of that is transitioning the labs over to a new, more powerful calculation server that produces the design. So once we get everybody over to the new server, we will be able to eliminate the S Series and just have the X. A few key takeaways for you. 1, SLR spends more money on R&D than our top 3 competitors combined. You've learned about live optics, our house lab, virtual reality, and wearers testing. We do all this to make sure that our innovations give progressive lens wearers the best vision possible. We also talked about Extend technology, which is a completely new approach to near and intermediate vision that solves the problem of finding just the right spot. And then the X series is going to be available in all the same materials and designs as the Verilux S series. So you'll have the X Design, X Fit, and X4D.
The code is X series.
All right, I hope you all are as excited as I am about the new Verilux X series. It is now available. And if you have any further questions, please reach out to your sales consultant. And thanks so much for taking the time with us today.